Scream. We all know what it is, one of, if not the greatest horror movie franchise of all time, at least in my opinion. Whether you love Scream or not, you cannot deny the fact that not only the first movie, but just the entire franchise in itself has inspired some of the GOAT horror movies that we know and love today. Now, considering everything I just said, it might be crazy to think about, but there are just some horror movies in franchises, even in a franchise such as Scream, that are just not it. A certain movie that people believe fit this category is the 2026 and newest installment of the Scream franchise, Scream 7. A lot of people actually hated this movie and said it was one of the worst horror movies they've ever seen. Not even lying to you guys, some dude even said he'd rather goon with sandpaper than watch this shit again. But me personally, I don't think it's that bad of a movie. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing why I think Scream 7 really wasn't that bad, at least not as bad as people are saying it is. But yes, without further ado, I think we should just get straight into it. Now, I should mention that Scream is my favorite horror franchise of all time, so it's honestly hard for me to not like any of the movies, which may make this video a little bit biased in a way, but I'm going to try and include both arguments as well as possible. Now, for those of you who don't know, Scream 7 is the newest movie of the Scream franchise, which came out in February of this year. Now, like I've said multiple times at this point, everyone who saw this movie was on the internet saying that this shit was just straight dick and balls. But me personally, I'm just not hopping on that hate train, and I hope all of you guys watching this video will side with me by the end. I'll make sure of it. But first, let's discuss my first initial thoughts on this movie. As I'm sure we all know, the OG trailer for this movie came out in October of last year, 4 months before the movie's actual release. And I'm not gonna lie, off first looks, it seemed like this would just be another great Scream movie, as always. However, I can't lie to you guys, I was sadly mistaken. Don't get me wrong, the movie wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. It was really just alright. Yes, I know, some of y'all clicked on this video thinking I was about to be glazing this movie up and down, but nah, I just think it wasn't horseshit like people are saying it is. But yes, like I was saying, the trailer I thought was good off first watch, I'm not gonna lie. But then we fast forward to February, earlier this year, specifically February 27th. Now this was actually the opening day of Scream 7 in theaters, but it was also a Friday. Which means I had school this day, so unfortunately I couldn't go see it first day of its release, I know. But best believe, next day, Saturday, February 28th, I was in that theater with my popcorn and soda, ready to witness straight greatness. Now I know I did say I thought the movie was alright, but I'm not going to sit here and say I had a straight face watching this movie the whole time. I think the reason why I thought it was mid was because I feel like the most important parts of the movie were just weak. Specifically the ending, but we'll get into that later. I'm not gonna lie, while watching this movie, at least during the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, this is about to be horror movie of the year. Like, no doubt about it. While I was sadly mistaken, especially after watching Obsession, great movie, I still liked the movie, and I just personally believe some motherfuckers are hating just because it's not as good as the other Scream movies. Now listen, I understand not liking it as much as you thought simply because it didn't live up to the hype, but calling it straight garbage, like a lot of people are saying, is just insane to me. Again, not saying this shit was a gem of a movie, but it wasn't as bad as the first Terrifier movie at least. But yes, back to what I was saying, enough Terrifier slander for now. I was in the theater watching this movie, popcorn in hand with a smile on my face. And honestly, I don't think the smile left my face till the reveal at the end of the movie. First of all, when it comes to the kills, I think they were pretty decent. They definitely upped the gore from the last couple movies, but it wasn't like an overwhelming amount of gore, like what Terrifier gives you. It was the perfect balance between blood and guts and emotional/actual storyline sequence. I think the bar scene was absolutely insane and probably the highlight of the movie in my opinion. Still, to this day, I think that the kill with the beer keg is probably one of, if not my favorite kills in the entire franchise. Yes, the entirety of the Scream franchise. So yeah, as you can probably tell, when it comes to the blood, guts, and violence in this movie, I think it was pretty good. Now when it comes to the actual storyline, it's a bit different. While the story wasn't complete dookie in a wet sock, it definitely wasn't a field of sunflowers, I can say that. It was honestly just kind of in the middle for me. I think the storyline could have been a lot better if the ghost face reveal wasn't the most confusing thing ever though. I think the killers made almost no sense, or even if they didn't really contribute to the whole Scream storyline like whatsoever. Now I know, a lot of you guys are probably thinking, didn't Scream 5 and 6 killers also not really contribute to the story that well? Well, yes, but at least their motives were cool. The motives in this movie just weren't. The main Ghostface, the woman whose name I can't remember at the moment, did it all because she was inspired by Sydney's book, gang. By a book. Sidney Prescott's book. Then I can't remember the bald guy's motive, and then the other motherfucker from the beginning of the movie didn't even have a motive, I think. He was just in it for the love of the game. So yes, while there has been other Ghostface in the past that didn't have a motive, or at least didn't have a good one, I think the motives in this movie were just the worst I've seen in a Scream movie ever. I can't lie to you. But again, the kills were absolutely amazing in my opinion, so the motive really wasn't the worst thing to hear, but obviously I wasn't too fond of it. Now when it comes to the sequencing of everything, I think it was as good as it could have been. I mean, come on, let's face it, when you have Sidney Prescott who's been running from Ghostface since she was 17, it's kind of hard to have great sequencing and build up in every single movie. I mean, at this point, we kind of already know what'll happen. Sidney gets word Ghostface is in town, they start picking off people around Sidney one by one, and then in the end, the Ghostface reveals himself and then gets murked by Sidney. Not really much they can add to that, so I don't blame them for the sequencing. Not saying the sequencing was bad though, it just wasn't something new that I didn't expect. Now as you can probably tell, I didn't love this movie, but I did like this movie. Honestly, a lot of people were saying the same thing, which I also believe, as you can probably tell. Again, everything was good except for the ending. And yes, wasn't a groundbreaking movie throughout the duration, and the end was weak, so because of both those reasons, I can't really give it anything above about a 7 out of 10. I can give it exactly a 7 out of 10 though, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I rate Scream 7, a solid 7 out of 10. Now after leaving the theater, I initially thought that it was a great movie, not gonna lie. Then I thought about it for some time and realized that it definitely wasn't a top 5 Scream movie. But I personally don't think there's a bad movie in the franchise, like I said earlier, so do what you will with that information. Not gonna lie, I was a little bit suspicious coming into that movie, especially after seeing the Rotten Tomatoes score on the way there. It was so fucking horrid, but it wasn't as bad as I intended it to be. Which I'm very glad it wasn't bad, because that means I can still say I love every movie in the franchise, even if it's low on my list of favorites. But now that we've talked about my opinion, I want to mention what other people were saying about this movie. A lot of people, like I said earlier, were completely shitting on this movie for all it was worth. People were saying it was trash, worst movie in the franchise, rather drink a tub of duck piss than watch this movie, but I honestly just think they were all over exaggerating. Maybe the worst Scream movie in the franchise is very true, but that doesn't mean the movie is bad. It literally just means it's the farthest from the greatest. So basically that means it's bad. I think you guys know what I mean. But yeah, overall, if I'm being honest, people were and still are hating on this movie way too much, making it seem like the worst thing they've ever laid their eyes upon. And mind you, this is people who call themselves die-hard Scream fans. Unlike them, as an actual die-hard Scream fan, I think the movie wasn't that bad. And to be honest, I kind of enjoyed it. So to anyone that calls themselves a Scream fan and is calling this movie horrible, we don't accept you in the clique, gang. Delete my number and block me so I don't ever have to see your monstrous takes again. But yes guys, I think that's going to have to conclude today's video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please do not feel afraid to glaze me in the comments. Follow the Twitch, follow the TikTok, follow the IG. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.